Okay, so this is a regular meeting of the Environmental Commission of the Borough of Fairhaven. In accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act, public meetings may be held in person or by means of communication equipment to include streaming services and other online meeting platforms. This meeting is being held in person and through the Zoom meeting platform, being broadcast from Borough Hall, 748 Borough Road, Fairhaven, New Jersey. Public participation for this meeting on October 11th, 2023 is available by call-in phone number or through Zoom. Members of the public will be on mute until it's time for questions, comments, which will be announced. At that time, the public has the opportunity to question, comment by phone or through Zoom by the raise hand button and will be called on at the appropriate time. Notice of the meeting was sent to the Asbury Park Press, the Two River Times, and the Star Ledger on January 26, 2023. Posted on the borough website, the bulletin board, and the municipal building has remained continuously posted as required under the statute. With adequate notice having been given, the Environmental Commission Secretary is directed to include the statement in the minutes of this meeting. That pledge of allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Michael DiMichelli, absent. Kelly Flanagan.
Here.
Jesse Murray.
Here.
Brian Olson.
Here.
Gary Patterson.
Here.
John Peters.
Here.
Brian Wright. Colton momentarily. Ralph Windrum.
Here.
And Councilwoman Cole and I are also, we have a quorum.
Alrighty. So approval of the September 13th meeting minutes. Everybody get a chance to take a look at the meeting minutes? Any comments? Edits? Everyone approve? Approve.
Approved.
All right, approved. Okay, so the first item is, I think maybe we'll wait on this till Brian gets here for the meeting dates. So Kelly, do you want to give your update?
Sure. He might be here.
That's it. Okay.
Do your
Sure.
update.
Okay, so the green team has had a couple busy weeks. Last week we celebrated National Bike Walk and Roll to School Day at Sickles and at Norwood, which was well received by parents, administrators, and students. It was great because the police were just in the schools talking about police bike safety and helmet tech. So it was a great way to re-emphasize that, make it really fun too for the students as well. There was some giveaways with reflectors. We had a representative from St. Bruce's School that came to the Norwood. We did Sickles in the morning, Norwood in the afternoon. We gave out reflectors, had some posters, and so the part was the kids had to answer some of the questions, were true or false on the posters in order to be eligible to enter into a bike raffle. Bike accessory raffles, including some lights, some bells, some baskets, etc.
Kelly, would you like to have a carbon footprint estimate for the bike pool?
Yes.
Because I know I do a regular basis. I do different things about commuting patterns. And I know the approximate ratio of kids walking and biking versus auto, and we can get a good estimate
I think that would-
for our next round of our, application for Sustainable New Jersey. I think we could have an actual number.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of trips. Because each kid that goes to school is a parent out, a parent back, a parent out, a parent back. That's 4 trips. And again, trying to destroy 4 trips in America is an impossibility.
Right.
It just doesn't happen. I'm probably running in the 600. We're going to take a census of the bikes
Yeah.
at the racks, and that'll give us a pretty good number. I have a PED number from the survey I ran.
John, that would be a great, because I think not only for our carbon footprint that we want to understand at the town, but I think also getting the students involved too. I could see like the math problem right there, right? And like even having the students go out and calculate that and see how many pounds of carbon is being saved. I think that'd be fantastic.
I'll give you the calculations. I'll have
Perfect.
you do it, and I'll put the white paper.
That would be great.
Okay, for next month.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, we had the Norwood Green Team come out at Norwood and help us out with that, which was fantastic. Jen Amabile is chairing the Green Team, so it's a great local Fairhaven resident who's been very responsive. And I think they had their first meeting that day and there was about 35 kids that
Wow.
signed up and showed up. It was fantastic. She ran out of paper space and they all came out after. So it was really, it's snowballing, right? It's getting momentum, which is great. And related to that, so we had, and this is with the Third Street Trail project as well, and Bonnie Torcivia and Mark Olson, they designed this, acorn project. So we have the kindergarten students in Sickles gather about 700 acorns from Sickles Park, right there, McCarter Park, right across from Sickles, both white oak and red oak acorns. Those have been transferred over to Knollwood. They are going to be sorted through. The green team next Wednesday is gonna help, and the 7th graders are going to plant those acorns, take care of them. And so they're gonna become oak trees.
That's good.
So it's a really cool bridging project. And taking a homegrown resource, our beloved McCarter, and seeing how this will grow trees, oak trees that we can replant in town.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that's our next thing that's gonna be happening. So Mark and Bonnie are going into the 7th graders. On Thursday, they'll be planted on Friday, the 20th, and it'll be great because by the time they're 8th graders, there'll be a tree that should be able to be planted, and that could be kind of like a legacy project.
We
for
did
the
that,
Sickles.
yeah, we did that when I went to Rutgers, that was we got an oak tree when we graduated.
Oh.
And so my mom still has. the
Yeah,
house, so
right.
to have something like that, so that's awesome.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a native keystone species. I mean, there's so many benefits for that. So I think it's a really awesome project to see it in fruition.
Really nice.
The third thing that we're working on right now is a sports swap, gear exchange that we're trying to do. We reached out to Nova Green Team as well. They are totally in support of it. We're hoping to see if we can do it one weekend, whether it's a Friday night or a Saturday morning at Knollwood during basketball too, because the parents will be coming, but everything will be free. Everything will be there, gear donations, whether it's cleats or lacrosse sticks or surfboards, we're trying to still think about some of how we're gonna do it, but the idea is let's reuse and recycle more than, and stop that, because you look around at bulk and there's so many good usable items that people put to the curb. So how can we reduce that footprint as well? So we're working on that. And we'll keep you posted as we know more details.
Great.
Okay? Yeah.
Awesome.
Sorry, I'm late. I got back issues and I made a mistake and took a back muscle relaxation. So,
We're going back to A. We skipped
going back
that.
to A.
Yeah, we skipped.
Oh,
that.
meeting dates for 2024. So I brought this up before to try to move the time up to 7. We all have to vote on it. It didn't pass last time. So if anybody has any comments,
I work in the city, it's on May 2nd.
keep it at 7:30.
My preference is 7:30, just because that conflict's trying to make
Right.
7.
Okay. So we'll do the same time, the same schedule.
Yeah, I went over the dates if you kept the second Wednesday of the month for 2024, and that there were no conflicts as far as
Okay.
school breaks or anything. Came up again the last couple of years, having an August recess at the last minute. We had it on the calendar and moved it, so I don't know if you want to plan to just have an August recess or you want to keep the date on the calendar.
I mean, I feel like we've had a recess every single August.
Every August.
So that's probably a good idea, just to give
Probably
a
just-
break.
Yeah, probably take it off.
So do you want to make a motion to continue the second Tuesday of every month at 7:30, the exception of August?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So move.
So move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. It will be in the Borough County.
Okey-dokey. So. Deer mitigation, do we have any updates from council?
This was some weeks ago, even months, I think, when your report went to the governing body. And I unpacked the report and explained to the governing body your work to date, which involved the site visit, the presentation by the representatives of the Fish and Wildlife Division.
NJDEP Division of Fish and Wildlife, Jody Powers, and I forget who was with her.
And she had 2 other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And went through what was explained, shared my sense of things, which is. I went from skeptical to, oh, I see it as stewardship, because I learned a lot. And, the consensus among council was that they wanted to hear from the representatives firsthand. Which I
Right.
consider to be perfectly reasonable, given
Absolutely.
what they're contemplating. So, the last I followed up on this, I was told that those arrangements for those professionals would be made in January, so at some point in November.
Right.
Yeah, that we're to anticipate them presenting. I will tell you. Things happen and shift on the agenda all the time. It's not, I don't have any control over that, and, if something comes up that is considered to be pressing of some sort, other things do move. But in this instance, I know they had to try to get their attendance as well, so if that's been put in place. I don't imagine they would try to reschedule Jody and her colleagues.
Okay.
So that is the report I can share with you, is that we can anticipate them coming to council in November. And once I have that information in definitive terms, it would probably be good if anybody who wants to attend would be there to also share, what you gained from listening to them and what you would advocate for based on that experience. So I'll keep in touch through Christie. She'll let you guys know, and then we can go from there.
Who's making the arrangements?
That would be the central office, so either Betty Ann, Allison.
Okay, so we don't have to.
I just
No,
get it
just
to myself
staff.
because, yeah, I don't know anything about it, so I will
Okay,
see if
thanks.
somebody.
Thank you. Good. I don't have anything to add to you, Gary.
No.
ERI.
Not many updates. I think we're gonna be going, we'll chat later about the environmental roundtable, but I think that will kind of help string some updates for the ERI, so.
Just a little side tidbit, my daughter had a Fairhaven geography project, and I gave her the ER to find out more information about location.
that.
And she was like, you can find all the answers here. So just a little, it is a helpful document for on many areas.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah. Yes.
Love it.
Good.
It'll be even better soon.
Yeah.
Living shorelines, pocket parks. I don't have any dates to this council.
I have nothing formal to share with you. I'll tell you this, last night at the council meeting, I framed the idea for a planning initiative that would look at all 7 locations along the 1.5 mile northern border. To suggest that we engage planning services, planning professionals, to help us look at all of them so that we can contextually understand which sites are suited to recreation, which sites are suited to a passive experience versus a recreational experience versus a cultural heritage experience, or one, maybe some are just a view shed, but looking at it comprehensively and conceptually with engagement with the community, because the community and the people who use those spaces can help us to articulate and tease out the sort of granular level of, well, we take our kayak down here, and well, this would work better if we could, but this is what we do over here, and so the idea was well received. We continue to struggle to find money for planning, but that's the right way to go about it when the time comes. So I don't have any formal updates on Normandy at this time.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, that money that is technically set aside for the engineer, like the engineer, is that still available, that 70,000 or 75?
It's
Could that
it's
be used for
allocated.
that?
It is allocated for the Normandy.
Oh, just for solely the Normandy.
Yeah,
Okay.
meaning
Right.
for those funds to be reallocated, the governing body would have to vote to
Okay.
reallocate. So as of now, that money is still allocated for that. Yeah.
In other words, it could be done.
Well, that says about $78,000.
Where do we stand on Grange Avenue, the end of Grange?
The
It's not in good shape, and I'm worried about the winter coming.
Yeah, there was a series of votes. The council authorized the improvements as drawn from a 2016 engineer's drawing from Mazer that was then acquired by Colliers. So it's gonna be a concrete pad, concrete steps, a platform deck with riprap and.
My only question is when it's going to be, because I don't know if you know, but I and several other people have been in there looking at it. And it's really falling apart. It falls apart into the water.
Well, Ralph, if you asked me, I would have pulled a GP10 and put in a new bulkhead there for a lot less money and we'd be back in business.
Yeah, so would I.
But that's not what happened. The council,
When will the council be doing this?
well, the decisions for council are done, so
Already
the
done.
switch has been flipped. Now the contractor has to begin to assemble and
It's gonna be the spring, in other words, before it happens.
it's gonna be, that technically the contractor has 2 years to do the work there.
To think that if somebody ought to go out, maybe Rich ought to go out and look at it, because I'm just afraid it may collapse.
They all know, they know.
I certainly.
You know,
Everybody knows.
it-
They've known
Make sure they
for a long time.
Said about it for years.
I've been, but I don't wanna get all off into the.
If it falls in, I think we're all gonna feel that we didn't do
It is
it.
what it is. We know they haven't, but I don't wanna get all into that.
It's certain,
A lot to dig up. and
many of you know
Too.
when.
So, all righty, thank you. Navigant
I'm
River,
sorry, there was one other question I had. The Hants Road,
Mhm.
that was left out of the new grant, I know that.
yes,
And that's fine. But are there any plans underway for what to do there?
The only plan that I know about is that there's a plan to apply for money to do a double the money, 500,000. For
Okay,
a real plan that would involve the community that would result in a design that
Okay,
is
so
in
it-
line with community value.
double concrete wall and all, that's all out?
Out.
Thank God.
There was one.
Ralph and I, you
one
and
single-
politely not.
Okay,
But
well,
We would get here much sooner, but for some objections.
we need something, but I was a lot of people in the block don't like it.
Understood, but this is about an amenity for the whole community. It's not from one particular
Well,
area.
I mean, no, I mean the whole of Hants Road,
Understood, and I'm saying it's about an amenity for the whole
I'm out.
community.
Can we get back on track,
but
please? Thank you. All right, so, thank you. Navigant River, really no changes since the last report. We did have our meeting and we still have an issue in Red Bank, which they're working on. Fairhaven seems to be better. We've been kind of monitoring where we think it's coming from. We have some ideas, but they're just rumors, so I can't comment on that.
Did
Um,
we get you monitoring after the big rain from last week or the week before, the heavy rains?
I don't know, I haven't talked to Bill Hedendorf yet this week, but
There's a lot of rain.
it was. So the problem with that is you get so much rain. Unless you get the samples early on, by the end of that rain, it's clean. So, yeah, I'll check with Bill and see.
Yeah.
But it should be all clean now. Upstream, so so the next rain, I think is Saturday. Hopefully we can get some. Yeah, every Friday, Saturday. Exactly. We're in that pattern. Other than that, I don't have any updates. On the river. McCarter Pond, I can't speak about it,
I can't yet either.
and you can't yet either,
No.
so. That has to be,
because
Maybe
we
the next-
don't know, or
it's still an executive session. So,
But it's getting close. I can.
they are moving, on
I
it, we
feel
can say
like,
that.
yeah, I feel like next month we could probably be talking about it.
I do know that some residents around there have influenced, just want to know what's going on.
I think I can understand why everybody would want to know
Everybody.
what's going on.
Yeah,
Right, yeah. And I will tell you guys, on McCarter Farm, if I can.
Mhm.
Sure. So it's flooded, it's overflowed that northern bank twice in less than 2 weeks. And that's the third time this year, so.
the northern bank.
Yeah, the part that's compacted.
So, I mean, that's kind of a sign of the times, right? With change in weather and more rain. I've never seen that
Do
kind
we
of.
know what the outflow pipe size is?
I don't think we have a clear, that was my question as well,
Right.
and how are the inlets functioning, because, I suspect there's some inlet failures.
We had the same problem during the heavy rain the other day. I was traveling on River Road
Mhm.
and it filled up. There was a massive, about 18 inches of water between just east of Hants.
Yes.
And,
We know that,
and it's one of
yeah.
those things, I mean, with a really massive amount of rain, your inlet, if it's not clogged, even if it's not
There's
clogged,
like,
it's
I
flow.
think well, there's an investigation going on there that's been started like 2 months ago. And we know we have 4 or 5 levers to pull, and where those things are happening.
No, just with the corridor, just the size of the lake and the outflow pipe, right? It's a physics calculation.
Right,
right.
I think it's Euler's calculation, if I remember correctly. And,
Yeah.
you know, you just can't exceed it once you do it.
Well, and I wonder, not just about the inlets, I also wonder about, the state of that particular bank. It's very compact.
Very cool.
And, yeah, and so nothing's perking, but once I think it's the lowest point
Yeah,
too.
it's pretty well-
So
It
it's gonna
is.
go there.
Yeah.
But we're gonna take up the discussion with the engineering and DPW and see about, we can't have it flooding all the time.
That was one of the sites that we were thinking about for a rain garden as well. I mean, I know obviously that like some of that bank could be, yeah, like you said, it's very compact and hard. I don't, you know, obviously there's other issues, but there's something else soft for, you know, more drivable issue that we can do as well.
Yeah, but you got the size of that lake plus the inflow, right,
Yeah.
that's occurring during a rainstorm.
Yeah.
You can calculate out, right, by inch of rain, how much we're gonna have to flow out of it, right? And I don't know, it's probably not, it's probably the reason it's overflowing the bank, is you can't go out.
Enough too, and there's not much basin.
I mean, you can try and raise that bank, but you might flood everybody's basement
You,
in the neighborhood.
you
We do
could
have some
lower
flooded
it,
basements.
couldn't you lower it 1 notch?
The level of the lake.
No, that's the other pond. You're thinking of Schwenkers.
Oh,
There's no, yeah, so at Schwenkers, there's boards.
Mhm.
yeah, right,
Yeah,
I thought the word,
No, McCarter's, that's just the, no,
just pipe to the 4th grade,
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that's too bad.
if you increase the number of pipes coming out, you could flow more into Fort Creek, right?
Yeah, all right, but that's
Or
a big
two.
job under the roads.
Big job.
Yeah, it's a huge, yeah. And then we have to worry about Fourth Creek.
We still.
Has anybody ever tried cleaning out the pipes that are there,
Right,
you know, vacuum stuff?
One thing we could ask is to have, I don't know, if yes, the sewer authority to come over, I don't know if he could block it and they could scope it for us.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they just did that on,
We
you
did
just
do
did that
that.
River Road.
You scope it?
62, I believe, don't quote me, it's 62 or 52 tons.
Yes,
Of
of that,
material.
that was taken out.
through-
Yeah.
right by Michael's house, right, and that was right there.
That's in the pond itself.
No,
No,
that's
in
on-
that area that you were talking.
that's for the
Right,
stormwater.
the stormwater.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the county was out again today.
River Road, is that what you were just talking about?
Yeah.
Just east of Hants?
Yes.
Yeah.
There's that is a confluence of problems
Yeah.
from all the way, well, from a much larger catchment area,
Yeah.
but nobody's stormwater is properly, just, I mean, from Valero or now BP to Acme, you know, but not only that, there's several things, and we all agree we're gonna talk about it comprehensively, but basically, there's a development that's on the.
Yeah.
Yes, so there's a number of contributing factors.
No, I was just thinking about, can we scope the McCarter outfall?
Hmm.
I don't know if we know the condition of that, because maybe there's root intrusion and stuff like that.
Yeah,
If you just went in there
Yeah.
and cleaned it out, it might function pretty well.
yeah.
But I'm saying, we might, the sewer authority was saying they do this for people, and as soon as they did it, my ears went up, I'm like, really? I went over to Fairhaven. So I
can answer, yeah, I can answer.
My,
suggestion to the engineering DPW committee, because that's where staff can act on
No
that
problem.
recommendation.
but I just wondered, we don't know the condition, I don't know if anybody knows the condition.
No,
of the outfall.
no.
No, I don't think we do.
You can
It's
guess
gonna
it though, it hasn't been done in years,
Right,
so 10 years
If ever.
probably.
and we don't know what it is it a clay pipe or is it concrete, you know what I mean, because.
Probably concrete, but I don't know. No idea.
So where are we going with it? What
Well, I just-
recommendation we're making?
I think I was just sharing, and we're still on Carter Pond, I wanted you to know that we were aware it flooded and that's a concern. Cause I'm sure you would share the concern. We had touched on what Carter Pond, the hydro thing, so I just wanted to add that.
Yeah.
Keep you abreast of what's happening.
I mean, it doesn't hurt just to ask Mike.
Yeah, no, I'm saying, but I just, we don't
I
know,
can
right?
shoot him a text in the morning, and see if they'll do it,
Yeah,
probably will.
I would think they will.
Once you get a warning, you've really got a responsibility to respond to it.
Yeah,
Do we know where the water went? I'm sorry, I just wanna ask.
Goes
it goes under Fairhaven Road to Fourth Creek.
Fourth Creek.
So it goes into another catch basin or
Oh, but.
how does
where
it,
did
it escapes the pond? The
Yeah.
pond, then where does it go?
It just flows
Along Fairhaven Road?
underneath Fairhaven Road.
No, but I mean when it
The water.
overflows.
You just go to stream, and then it goes to a stormwater.
East of Third Street,
Right.
where it is low, and it went into the Knights.
And it finds in it, but that catch basin probably goes.
And it's that, there's a
Yes.
catch basin right there. on the
Right.
corner.
There's two,
They all go to Fourth.
But
Creek.
it-
Correct.
but it pulls.
It's just wandering.
Well, either Fourth Creek or it might continue down Fairhaven Road,
You want
right
to
to the
whatever.
pipe.
see the video?
Yeah.
Or your-
Pipe
You don't have
at the
to-
dock.
it's up to you. Yeah.
Probably goes to the pipe.
Sure, okay.
Oh, yes.
Who's mine?
Big screen.
No, it was a lot of sheep flow and the sheep flow.
Yeah.
We have quite a bit of sheep flow in town and that's just the best.
Mhm.
Because it
No.
just raises up, right, and it widens out. So like my area, it's a lot of sheep flow, and you have a heavy form like that, instead of it being 2 inches from the, you know, from the curb, it's now a
Mhm.
foot and a half from the curb, and you're adding all that volume.
Mhm.
Whereas McCarter, it's that pipe, right?
That's right.
And doctor, that's gonna be, we could just calculate that, you can easily come up with
That's easy.
a number for that.
And then you can, yeah, and then you can measure the flow on the other side and see.
Done,
That's easy to do.
right?
What are we gonna be looking at?
Tracy had a video.
We just sent it to Christie, it'd probably take her a minute.
Okay. Yeah, I just wonder how it goes, because if you raise the elevation of that pond, you're gonna probably flood out people's basements,
Yeah,
Mhm.
because you're pushing more hydraulic
Yeah, you
pressure.
can't do that. So you
So,
have to get more flow out of it. Not retain more of it,
no,
do the opposite.
Did I come in yet, Tracy?
Oh, let me double check.
You want, we can look back up.
that's it.
We can come back to it.
Environmental roundtable. Never mind. Never mind.
Oh, that's readable.
because
I'm gonna see the video.
Wow, the photos.
let's see. Oh, wait, this is.
Oh, God.
Whoa.
Holy mackerel.
Yeah.
Whole intersection.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's a backyard. That's where the people around the bottom of Third Street now.
Yep, that's what that is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tracy,
I knew the time. Oh my God, they're back in the morning.
No, it's the same on the bridge, same on River.
Yeah,
Oh, there's how.
and we have a similar thing.
Wait, can you do that?
Can we do it again?
Yeah.
It's like birds, I'm like,
Yeah, so that's the
That's
foot of
right.
Third Street.
Knights of Columbus,
There's
Columbus Club.
Right, but that's the water coming from the pond, right?
That's the bottom of Third Street now.
Yeah, but it's, that water's going to Ford, right, for another catch.
That's right.
No, it might go down that catch basin down to the dock.
Really? Okay, so it's
I
another.
doubt the catch basins go to Fourth Creek.
Yeah.
There's two catch basins.
There are two catch basins
Yeah.
right there on.
Yes.
in front of them.
Right,
Yeah.
one on the side of Knights and then one opposite, right at their properties.
Yeah, the
They're
problem-
not working.
But yeah, the problem with.
Have those been-
Nope.
But the other thing with that.
Those haven't been
water,
cleaned out,
You might
and
have
they're
to
too-
flow it from two catch basins,
And-
right? Let's go into which one's the
In
pipe.
and out every so often.
Well, they don't, so there's the base, there's the catchment, which is the mouth, and that has to be cleaned,
Yeah.
and it's regulated by state, it's supposed to be cleaned once a year.
County,
Right.
I don't know.
county, if it's county road, it's county.
You know, throughout the borough, there's over
Correct.
300, they're supposed to be cleaned by statute at once a year.
Yep.
But that doesn't account for the pipe between
Right.
the catchment.
Right. The other element is we could have a strategic plan based upon areas like this.
What time
They're
was-
high value catch basins.
What
Yeah.
time was
You know what
that?
I mean? Like,
Christie?
Yeah.
if the one in my neighborhood fouls, it just rolls down the street.
Yes.
Goes to the next catch basin before you even just rolls into the creek.
Sorry, what?
You know, time of day that was taken?
I think this was Saturday. I don't, I can find out,
Let me see.
or try to find out, you
Yeah.
know.
Oh, it was that high too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, this had to be Saturday. I was on a road trip north, but that was the day of that heavy rain. And,
Right, Friday night into Saturday.
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
It was
And it rained all day
Saturday morning.
Saturday. Right, didn't it rain here all day Saturday?
No,
No.
on and off, because we had one game in between 4 cancellations.
Yeah, we had a very intense short.
In the morning.
It was an afternoon.
An afternoon.
An
And
afternoon.
then the afternoon.
But there was a
yeah.
morning and afternoon, both
It
very
was
heavy.
intense and short.
Intense.
That's the worst.
So
Yeah.
that water, it's a
And,
combination of volume, but also McCarter Pond had breached
Right.
its banks. That was.
but then
flooding.
also too, I mean, with the amount of like leaf litter on the streets and a lot of these catch basins get clogged and covered.
Do you want me to tell you something on that?
Sure.
Last night, there's a brush and leaf committee that, you know, has been working, I have to say, right, everybody knows it's not a perfect system, in fact, we could just call it a flawed system, or one in need of improvement. So anyway, the brush and leaf committee was tasked with come up with a solution. And their report last night was a pretty cool idea, got full support from the governing body and actually everybody that was in the room. And it's a completely different plan. And this would start in 2024 with a big spring cleanup. Well, we're doing away with the zones, you know, how the
Oh.
brush and leaf zones,
Yeah.
and then the trash and recycle, that is just over.
Yeah.
Nobody knows. it's on
Nobody
there.
knows.
Yeah, no.
And to start with a big spring cleanup, which would go to the curb. And then, like a set of bookends, there'll be a big fall cleanup in October, and that's will go to the curb. And then in between, we would use a green can. And there'd be twice as many green cans. I think that the normal pickup during those months is like 5. And now we would go to 11 pickups with the green cans. So it's more controlled. It keeps it out of the
Yeah.
street, which was something I was
Well,
very
that's
happy
what I've been pitching.
and then after the big fall cleanup pickup, there would be a rolling leaf pickup. So it's, put it out, get it picked up, put it out, because it happens when it happens.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Do that
good.
once? Yeah.
It's simpler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if there's an increase in service,
Yeah.
it should go quicker, so we're not spending more money.
Right.
It's all been thought about even down to, the DPW crew actually got involved in the creation of this plan to basically contemplate the number of hours and how many guys and how many days, and so I don't think it's gonna cost
Right, so you
more.
don't need
We're gonna
the
get
truck
better
to-
service,
Yeah.
keep our debris out of the street, and hopefully out of gutters or out of these cabinets.
Okay.
So we're gonna give it a try.
Great.
I don't think it'll be perfect. We'll find out, you know, we'll keep learning.
I just want to go on the record to say I would cancel leaf collection. If you want to cut your carbon footprint, I'll do the
Yeah.
numbers. So you.
I know.
I'll
you
RFI
understand.
you,
Yeah,
And I have a compost pile and you can eliminate leaf
Yes,
collection
you
because
can.
none of my leaves go in the
Right.
street.
right.
They all go on my compost pile and I've been doing it.
Or even you can
20
leave,
years.
I leave them underneath my bed.
I don't want. But.
I think that's great, actually. Not everybody's there yet.
Well, we're trying to educate people about that, right? Reduce.
Right.
How much more do you want to
Don't
do?
blow out your beds and fall their leaf, you know, their homes.
No, but I mean, if we're gonna worry about runoff from small concrete pad, when I look at the surface of the streets and I look at the, you know, you gotta look at what you're really serious about, and this is a massive amount of carbon we pump out to do leaf.
I know.
And, you know, the little bit of runoff
I
from small
think it's
concrete
in that
pad on the
number.
river is minor, you know, compared to what we're talking about. But
But I think, yeah, this all goes into calculating our carbon footprint and for each thing and seeing how we can minimize that.
it's
You know, I
a
think
challenge, just because you're taking a
It's
lot
always
of
been a
energy to
challenge.
move a lot of material out to another location, and then people buy compost and buy wood chips to bring back the, if you think about the
Yeah.
whole
Cycle.
mania of it, if, it's just a situation where it's one of those ugly pieces that people don't want to pick apart.
Then you wouldn't have to have the noise, the blowers blowing everything out. But let's not get into that. Can we?
Yeah.
I just think the calculations, I think you find that probably.
It's a lot of
materials not anymore. I wonder, I mean, you do the two different things, right? Clean, up, you have to clean up, right? And I don't think we want to go back to an Amish model where you rake by hand, plow the 40 acres, but the flip side of it is moving the debris out of town and bringing it back is a lot of.
But there was a piece
It is.
of
Trying to find
the
the
committee's
picture.
findings. It had to do with education and awareness. And so I really owe that report to you guys, because there's a listen, there is a gap in understanding between what vegetative waste is. What grass clippings are, what can go in and what can't, and where does it go if it can't go in? It's not an easy thing to message, but you guys are the group to contemplate that. And particularly once the messaging is figured out, I think the green team can be very effective in kind of, continuing that narrative. But I think it's a matter of really clear, simple messaging, probably simple illustrations, they probably exist somewhere, actually. I mean, we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but that's gonna be a piece of this, so that in spring of 2024, we have Green Team Environmental Commission messaging that Betty Ann can start to pump out, that explains to folks, hey, we're teeing up a new plan, and it's gonna look like this. Here's your part, this is what you get out of the deal, because you're gonna get more services. I think people will like that. I think they'll like that it's cleaner. And I also think people might like the townwide spring cleanup. It's not like one day, but it's one block of time, and then the townwide fall cleanup is one block of time. So, but the whole, I'll have to get you exactly what needs to be worked on, but I know that the concept of vegetative waste, right, which is pumpkins and their garden stuff. And some stuff you can't just lump into brush. But folks don't know that.
Sure.
Which I understand. The hard thing to discern. But if we could just keep track of that. We have some time.
Trying to find a picture of the first load of materials in the Stormax next to the dock, and it was pretty much all leaves.
Oh, that would be good too.
Trying to find it, yeah, I have it, I'll send it to Chris.
Oh,
Yeah,
good.
send that.
Yeah, I have it.
I was actually
I have a
gonna ask
bunch
you
of it.
about
Well,
that.
to some degree, that's a good
Yeah,
news story.
and
right?
pretty much
Yeah,
since then, there
let's
hasn't been
It's
much.
just
better.
biologic, and it just means the management
Right.
versus having real long-term, I mean, the river can take care of the leaks, right? They've been doing it for
Oh,
yeah,
years,
yeah.
it's just,
Correct,
you don't want plastics and,
Everything
glass and everything else, that's what you don't want in there.
right,
I think.
I'll send it
for
to
you
Christine.
guys,
I have
because, you have a participant in the public who knows that video was shot at 2 PM on Saturday afternoon.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right, 'cause
That's
that's when
That's-
River Road was.
yeah.
Wow.
Brian, did you say that you sent that to me? I didn't see it.
No, I will,
Oh, you will.
I didn't wanna sit there
Got
and keep looking. Okay. Environmental roundtable, so we had our meeting, what was the date, 2 weeks ago?
It was a 27.
Okay. And, I don't have my, you have your notes? You have notes?
To do. Okay, our big takeaway, obviously, the ERI was shared with every commission, asking for feedback on the different, units, the boards that were there. What can, or should be in there, we got a talking about how a map of all the open spaces in town would be great, and we were saying John Peters would be our man to help with this.
We volunteered you.
But wouldn't that be such a great resource for residents and commissions and everything else around, just to see where our open spaces are? How to better manage them, how to better, collectively see them as a whole, and then also individually.
Yeah.
And this would also help with we were talking about getting the water story, so understanding more holistically about our stormwater, and everything that we're talking about is related to stormwater in one way or another. So really knowing.
Just on that, I
Yeah.
did find an inlet map for county roads,
Okay,
not our roads.
okay.
So now if we just go out, if we want to talk about going out and getting our local inlets, then we have
Do
it,
you
right?
think we don't have that now?
I believe we have it.
I believe we have it.
I
If
believe
you'd
we
like to,
have
help me see if we can get
I
it.
will see if I can get it.
Yeah.
If we have, it, or if we just even have the locations, we can go out then and put them into the map. But I found the county has their inlets map.
I know the county has theirs.
Yeah,
I'm pretty certain that Fairhaven has ours.
I
And if
will,
they have
I will tell you, we did
they have
get,
to.
you know, with the new state regs, they're eventually called grant
Yeah.
money, we applied, we got $25,000, and that'll go towards the type of planning that we haven't had in
Yeah.
place. But, an inlet map should certainly be one of the things that we already have it, but I'll follow up on that.
Like that, and all the water bodies too, so then you can really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we also said even just zoning, green space, historic places, you know, as well. It'd be great to kind of have like an interactive map where people could see what.
I'll make up in the mock-up one and send it to
Perfect.
you, and then you can throw back ideas about what you want to
Yeah,
show on it, you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
I don't care,
Yeah.
I can make it a lot of
Can you
different.
show it to Christine, so it goes to.
Yeah,
everybody?
I'll send it out to the whole group if you want. and then
Yeah.
we can
Well,
look
yeah,
at
it's
it.
gotta
I
go to
don't think you
Christie.
can do that, she's.
No, I'll send it to her, and she can send it. to
Thank
Chris,
you.
so,
You're
yeah.
talking about having something interactive online where someone can go if they want like the open layers map or, you know, something.
We have different layers.
I know, it's something else,
A
but
higher pay grade.
if we could even,
Yeah.
if we can get something
Well,
like
you
that
can
though.
get really, really deep into it.
Yeah, you're not gonna go crazy, we can make
Right.
it sound, yeah, really, I can talk about it, but. Have the open space already. But we can just talk about it.
You know, I'm gonna say something that I said at the ERI, or I mean, at the roundtable
Roundtable.
meeting. One of the powers of this commission is stated to cause to be made or have prepared maps.
Right.
That's not an insignificant thing. It's one of the things that you can ask. You can ask for money so that it can be prepared. You can, I mean, I know Jonathan's gonna give us great maps. I'm not saying that. I'm just
No,
saying.
there's things like interactive stuff, yeah, you can get somebody to do that, that would be.
It's one of the things that you were formed for, so. The annual report isn't on here, but if you wanna talk about that later, we can.
Yeah, I mean, part of it, we have to update some of them because we've added some new ones, so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those open spaces should be notated, and the other thing is some areas, you know, are more of a point location like the town dock, you know what I mean, that's not really an area, it's. The location of
Yeah.
activity,
right.
you know, where
And
the
what it
field
is,
is already.
and what it is.
Yeah,
Like wetlands, a lot of people don't understand that they're actually classified areas as wetlands, just because they're wet. Doesn't mean that they're classified as wetlands, so on and so forth.
Yeah,
Just
so-
to have that
yeah,
data and then have people be able to access it on the website.
I mean, I have
We
the,
talked about.
I have the fields, I have McCarter, I have the part of pond, I have.
Even if they're like static maps too,
Yeah.
it needs to have the links, it's like,
Sure.
hey, here's
The
the
bird
space map.
sanctuary is here, it's already
Yeah.
here, so there's a bunch of them already here, should update it.
Breakers, all the outfalls.
No, this just shows the open space at this point, but then the next thing is to put on the outfalls, yeah.
Right.
That's great.
Okay, thank you. So that was a big part that we were talking about was stormwater.
Mhm.
And how this is and obviously we were talking, because there's people there from the zoning board and planning board, about some regulations that, obviously stormwater has been a major issue. We've had so many record number of storms in this past month and the flooding, of course. So how can we, are there regulations or suggestions that we could do for whether it's new builds, renovations, so everybody kind of agreed that we need to adopt stronger stormwater regulations in town. And how this should be all part of our annual reports and recommendations that we bring forward to council. And so if we can understand this more, go through, because remember that we only adopted the bare minimum in order from the state. And so we were looking for the
Yeah, I
The
sent,
watershed
I sent,
institute.
Clean Ocean Action an email the other day asking for it, because I couldn't find it,
Okay.
and she's looking for it, and she'll send it to us.
okay.
And then, you have that white paper?
Yeah, I have
Oh,
my
no.
email somewhere, yeah.
Yeah, I tried looking for it too. I know it's
Yeah, I
listed on the
couldn't find
Watershed
it.
Institute. It
Correct.
should be, it was worked with
That's
them.
where it was, yeah, that's where it emanated from.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but obviously, again, too, if we wanted to get, and sustainable Jersey is just a side note. Obviously, we need to do this for our own residents and our own, for town Fairhaven, but. It's adopting and going one step further would give us more recognition or more points, more, just to be more sustainable with our stormwater. Now, in relation to that, there is, there's always so much more stormwater education that's being provided by the state and through ANJAC. Is this something that borough officials need to be doing regularly or updated on? I don't know. But there are some courses, whether we should, be attending this, but ANJAC's having next Wednesday, 7 p.m., New Jersey Stormwater Initiatives, an information session on stormwater utilities and more. And I just think it's really important to be knowledgeable about what exists in the state, what funding exists, what are the new regulations, so that we don't just have to go out and invent the wheel, but see what other communities are doing as well.
I believe for the town, whoever, and I believe it's Nick. He's our stormwater,
Yeah.
right, so, and I believe he has to get credits
Yeah,
Okay.
annually for it.
but you guys remember.
As part of
when you
the
start a
permit.
term, You have to also take that video course I send all of you.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's the built environment,
Yes,
right? And none of us are gonna manage the built environment other than through
Well, that's
the zoning and planning.
right.
And most of the new regulations that came down
Yeah.
don't pertain to us at all. It was like major
It
projects,
was major.
it was major,
But that
it
is why-
wasn't just one house, so on and so
But
forth.
that is why we are trying to see, is there any ways that we can work with planning and zoning to
Yeah.
even have some kind of checklist in there, like, what are you doing for stormwater? Like, would you put in a dry well? How are you would you put a property, rain garden on your property?
Right.
Did you know that trees soak in so much more stormwater, right? And so putting something like a checklist or some kind of, here are some recommendations to reduce, hey, Fairhaven's a coastal town. We care a lot about our stormwater and our runoff. Here are some things that you can do to help reduce our problem on your property. And I think that might go over well.
100%.
We also said we would love to have the EC website or like a different website where a lot of residents can access this information. Because it's valuable information and it's really hard to kind of find.
Yeah.
How to, some tips and that it can do. So that was the gist, but the big thing was everybody would put in their annual report and look ahead for 2024 that we would really appreciate an adoption of stronger storm regulations in town.
Good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
Planning board update, Ryan.
Yeah, good segue. So the model green development checklist, I think Kelly sent this to me last time I brought this to the planning board. We're gonna put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Normally that would be next week in October, but the meeting got canceled, so it'll be November. Listening to these comments about the stormwater and water management and some people did take a look at this on the planning board and I'll be honest, the concern is that it turns from recommendations to rules that creep, right? That it grows into more. So maybe we should sit down and like focus on stormwater or something that a lot of it, by my lights are, it seems very administrative. And so maybe like off point, if we really want to get people focused on stormwater, we could narrow it down. If you want to work together, we can do that.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna present this to, where the planning board's gonna talk about it. So that will happen in November.
Okay.
But if you want to get together,
Yeah.
zero, I think it'd be smarter to zero on a stormwater and push that through.
Sure.
Than take a big bite that we can't swallow and nothing happens.
Is that from Sustainable Jersey?
That is from Sustainable Jersey.
Yeah, so that could be a lot too.
It could be.
Metabolize, but
It
you
is,
know what would be very friendly and easy? I've heard you guys talk about this before, just to remind you of what I heard you mention in the past. You kind of call it a white paper, but it could also be a pamphlet. Even a threefold, where's your rain garden?
Right.
Did you know your leaders can't dump into the street? there's some basic, friendly, easy things that. They're kind of best practices, but they're easy for a homeowner to do.
Right.
Even a dry well is not hard to
Not
do.
Right.
And
Yeah,
not expensive.
But a drawing of a dry well to
Mhm.
show how simple, like, you say dry well, and they don't know. But a construction detail or a quick elevation that shows what that is, it's pretty easy for them to grasp it. But, some simple things that can be. Some people will take it, and run with it, and some people may not, but if you have something like that produced, it can be available to the land use boards. But it could also live, at Betty Ann's window.
Right.
And along with, what happens to your dog poop if you don't pick it up properly, and those sorts of things. I just remember in the past, a white paper is what I think you called it.
That's what I called it.
Yeah, however, I think something a little bit more
Information.
elementary in a way is easier. For
More of a
people
pamphlet,
that- Yeah, that's what I'm,
Um,
as a suggestion, because I certainly know what the Sustainable Jersey thing is like. It's a lot,
yeah, and once you, right.
but they
and-
put it all in there, so. it's
Right,
all
They
in
put
one
it all in,
place,
and it's
so-
just a, yes, and so obviously stormwater retention is part of a green build, and. Lot square footage, and what materials you're using or landscaping that you're putting on. I mean, even something just like native plants
Yeah.
and trees and how much that they intake. Water as well.
Mhm.
So I'll be happy to work with you and we could put something, I do think some kind of
Mhm.
visual
Yeah,
aspect
I
to
like
it too is really important. Or,
And then it's easy for land use boards to like say, oh, here's an example, they don't have to sit there and unpack the whole thing,
Sure.
explain
They're
it.
not gonna read it. If it's
Right,
a
but if
blank.
they have it to hand out, then.
Yeah.
and, also being like, hey, like we take our stormwater pretty seriously,
Sure.
like we are coastal cleaning and what
We wanna make it
we
easy.
want to make
do the
sure,
right thing.
yes,
Yeah.
More pictures and fewer text.
yes,
That's why I use the word administrative, but it feels, the checklist feels like it's data collection. And I think if we use pictures, and information, I think that will go a long way.
Yeah, I agree.
But people want to do the right thing.
They do.
I agree.
They don't want to fill out a bunch of paperwork.
Right.
So let them look at a picture.
Right.
Make it easy.
Yes.
Make it easy.
Right.
That's true. John.
But the other piece, we gotta also be careful that one of the benefits of our town is the compactness of it. And we don't wanna be afraid of density, and we don't wanna be afraid of keeping people, making this a community people can live in. Because at the end of the day, if we drive people up to Jackson and we eat up the pine barrens with new housing developments, that's not beneficial either for the environment. So part of our value is the fact that people live here, and we're gonna make it minimal impact and less of an auto-based suburban lifestyle. The harder we push on keeping people out of Fairhaven and making it difficult to live here, more pushes development out into the rest of the state. That's the challenge. So I want to make a sustainable and livable community. You can't drive the prices through the roof for everything you're trying to do.
Right.
That drives families out.
But that's why it would be suggestions. and
Yeah,
not
no.
A new ordinance and a new,
we're not trying to do that.
no,
Look, Petcom, when they show up, they rip down the house because they want to comply with the zone, right? That's the easiest way to do it. You rip it down and start from scratch and just
Take
build-
the-
Then you cut all the trees down.
Yeah, no, I mean,
We need
we don't want
to-
to.
Longer than.
We want to retain the housing that's here, that keeps the character of the community, that keeps,
And speaking in terms of rain, and stormwater, have you talked about the new BP that's been coming in, and is there anything that's going to be done? Because that is that major problem with stormwater right there.
We have not talked about the
Which is
BP.
that of the.
That's where the
the new
Borough
gas station.
is going to become a new BP.
We've talked a lot about the Sunoco spot. That's gonna get knocked down and
Right.
into multifamily housing and retail, but the BP has not.
But like any stormwater regulations or
Yeah.
suggestions that are going to be put in there, because that is a major, both the Sunoco and the BP, but. I know they're cleaning that up. I hope the tree is gonna stay, but is there gonna be some sort of rain garden vegetation?
So that technically, I'm keeping close track of this one.
Which one are we talking about?
The,
BP.
well,
Or like
the Valero and now
Catch basin or
BP.
something.
So There is no zoning application at the moment. What he has submitted for is building permits, and everything he's doing, just difficult to contemplate given, you know, how much of the paved area has been jackhammered up. But, I've personally checked to make sure, and it is, allowed because he was given permission. He's gonna be putting 4 pumps there, which is what is, it's not an increase.
Right.
Right, same as
It's
what we
it's
had.
the same,
Yeah.
we're swapping out Valero pumps for BP pumps, and the tie-in has to be changed for that purpose, and so therefore it had to be jackhammered up. But the main thing is to know that, you know, our staff, who would be reviewing a zoning application, is keenly attuned to the stormwater problems that are associated with that site and the adjacency, you know, there's
Right.
collateral. Even the way the tree was handled, the way the construction fence came up after the fact, like, there are a lot of eyes on this.
Okay.
And I went to the trouble of asking personally, because I wanted to know for sure, so.
Okay.
Once there's an application for, I mean, if he wants to do, you know what a BP looks like.
Right.
Right, if he wants to do any more than what he's doing now, he's gotta apply.
He's
for
gonna
it.
have to, it would have to be a zoning.
Just to do a renovation, doesn't have to.
Okay, but just that zoning and planning, you know, like that, this whole idea.
That's when,
Yes.
that's when the
Right.
stormwater management
Right.
issues get dealt with.
Right.
Which is what we did with that.
Yeah, anytime a
Right.
applicant comes before us, we'll talk about
Okay.
stormwater and all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
That
Yeah,
many-
Same as
many
when
things.
that we did.
And-
And the planning board is making sure that the plans fit the plan of the town.
Of the town.
And then the zoning is separate.
Yeah.
That's more closer to it. We're
And,
picture
but
the
everything has to
details.
be regulated towards what our stormwater is currently right now, but we are trying to emphasize even more stringent. Especially in that area, so I'm just wondering, like, are we going to,
Well,
Right now, there's.
I don't know, right
So
now,
in terms of
but like, make
the-
these suggestions and say, hey.
The last major project that was commercial was the Acme
Right.
Center, and we did mandate some stormwater. A lot of it came out of their engineers.
Right.
So they put in 2 cisterns. They changed the curving on the outside, so that there's a buffer and all that.
it's still sheet flows right into.
Right.
the
But there- but
There's
it's
detention
less
basin.
It's better than it was. Is
It's
it perfect? No, it's never good. So, from that standpoint, we did try to do, you know, as much as we could within the letter of law. And with BP, like Tracy said, it's just a renovation right now, so we really don't have any,
He has permits for everything that
right?
he's doing,
So we don't really. have
even though
any-
it feels fairly disruptive, but
Okay.
they'll. I know what your concern is, to
Right.
like get corrective actions while we can.
Well,
This is
yeah.
where you're coming from, yeah.
Yeah.
I think everybody's on
Beyond
it,
it, you know, and
I mean, everybody is on that.
Not an
same
after
page.
the fact.
Absolutely.
Yes, okay.
So one other item, planning board, there's a Habitat for Humanity project going up, and we made sure that the landscaping is gonna include native plants. The Shade Tree Commission is gonna take the charge on that.
Great.
Awesome.
Good.
Where's that? Is that in town?
It's
Yeah.
in town.
Yeah.
Great.
That's good. Block.
Hmm.
Number.
There are
Right,
2
right,
cute
right,
little
right.
houses, on Henderson, their Habitat's building is part of them. Oh,
Let me do an unpopular
So-
shout out for the gas station. To remind everybody, we have 2 gas stations left on the peninsula. For now, we have 1. And if we lose our gas stations on the peninsula, that means everybody drives out to,
why would we
Newbury
lose
Street.
it?
I don't know, but I mean, sometimes we have to be careful, because I think sometimes there's always an aesthetic,
I don't hear them anyway.
you know. when-
No,
Well, again, if you're traveling and it's.
Lumsden, it's 50-60 cents high. I
I-
keep on going.
yeah.
And they're having the same thing, unless I'm in a jam.
I understand this, but gas stations are one of those things that traditionally are unpopular.
Okay, you're saying if you use a closer gas station, and it's more expensive, it's less carbon.
It's less far. If we drive everybody off the peninsula, everybody has to drive over to
Why
the
do you
quick.
think we're driving the gas
No, I
station?
didn't say that. I just say you have to be careful. You know, I'm just saying, there are towns out there that go on a vendetta.
Well, you don't have, I don't even personally.
Yeah.
I think you're worried about something that might not be real.
No, it's fine. As I said, I believe that having local amenities are
We
important.
need to.
Right,
Absolutely.
that's it.
And I'm glad VP is there. Because it'll be
So,
nice.
Oh, it's, hopefully it'll be an improvement. So, like I
It
said,
hasn't changed since Miller owned it.
we had at one point in time 3 gas stations in town, correct?
Four.
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 There were 4 gas stations in
Yeah,
town.
four.
We went down. But how many, I don't know how many were in Rums?
One, right?
2. We're down to 1 in Rums
Two.
and 1 in Fairhaven.
Well, they'll both be doing brisk business.
By 2030,
Not going anywhere.
by 2030, the consumption of gasoline is scheduled to be cut in half for new cars.
Wow.
Yeah, we'll put bets on it. I'll put aside, I'll let you read my report.
And it's been going down, so I think there's that to offset.
You're gonna have a grid problem, yeah.
Yeah, there's no way.
It's gonna be tight.
Well, there's a lot.
I don't wanna get into all that. No. Anything else? Ren? Thank you.
Thank you.
Any more updates from Councilwoman Cole?
It just that I had, clarify something for me. There were 2 things I really want to encourage you to keep your annual report on your agenda so that you
Yes.
get to discuss it. So that the actual report and what you're anticipating, looking at doing for 2024 is, determined by that body. And so you only get to meet a few more times before that would get submitted and scheduled for presentation. I mean, it's gonna probably be a 5-minute time slot on a council agenda. So it's October, figure you might have a couple more meetings. So I just want to encourage you guys to spend some time at the next few meetings and get something adopted with the vote of your commission.
That's a summary too of what we've done this year.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
before. So I mean, we have meeting minutes, and we can use as a basis.
Correct.
And then if everybody brings recommendations of their top 3 things for next year, like we did last year,
Right.
then we can discuss that. at the
That
next
would be,
meeting.
that would be great. I think it's also a really great way for you to communicate with the council what you're looking ahead to do. My sense is also council should support what you're doing. It isn't just, okay, they're doing that. I mean, I think the connection between your work and, there has to be a strategic tissue connecting these 2 bodies. So, that's how I can help build that tissue if you put it in writing and make an annual report. I think the look back is good and then the look ahead.
Mhm.
And if you can keep it to 3, that's probably really smart. And maybe even keep that in mind when you're thinking about your budget.
Right.
Okay. And then the other thing was 3rd Street Trail. I'd like that to have a standing position on your agenda. So
I
the
know
reason
you have.
why it's not. If you want to talk about it separately, we can.
My idea was that it's really not an EC project, and that's why I didn't think it was.
So the EC is not a project body, you are as a policy body.
Correct.
And you are responsible for, your jurisdiction really includes the whole of Fairhaven and its
Mhm.
natural resources, whether it's recreation or conservation or really preserved space. So I want to encourage you to contemplate your role as a body to be providing advice, guidance, or advisory comments to the governing body from a policy standpoint. So you don't actually have a function as a project
Right.
body. That's why maps are important. That's why, that roundtable where you get to hear from everybody else is important. 3rd Street Trail is important, the Natural is important, the bird sanctuary is important, 4th Creek is important. All of these places, some of which are getting attention, some of which are not, but they're all part of your envelope or your portfolio of policy consideration. So keep that in the back of your mind, and we'll talk more about it.
We'll add that back to the agenda as well as our annual report. Thank you. Thank you.
So yeah, for the annual report, everyone, next meeting should.
Next meeting, we'd like to have everybody's ideas.
Yeah, bring ideas for the next meeting.
Or you can
Then by
send them to
December, we've got a
Christie,
draft.
or send them to Christie, and we can have a draft.
That way I can maybe
For
put
the
it on the
next year.
screen ahead.
I think that makes more
Aggregate it
sense.
all.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And then we can chat about it.
Can I just ask about the Third Street Trail? This plays into the whole issue of walkability, right?
Yeah.
Which to me, again, coming back to the idea of a livable community.
Yeah.
Like things that normally you wouldn't think about, but I think we really should think about, things like downtown dining, the restaurants in the downtown center. Like I've seen towns that have like beer fests and beer halls in their downtown. It's a way to promote local activity. Because everybody who is driving out to 36 or driving out to Bradley Beach or something like that, every time they have to do that for an event, that's common. And if we can figure out a way to have more things that we do here,
I love it.
like I was down in Haddonfield, I was down in Collingswood, that they have these things where, somehow they've broken through the inertia of.
Yeah.
Of what we do is what we do. It's like, well, can't the town change and be helpful? I'd like to see a farmer's market in the town. These are all things that just,
This is what the-
but us promoting that it's not technically environmental, but the reality is
It
everything
is.
that walkability, bike friendly, that's all.
A lot of partners and fallen, I'll just say, there's many parts of government, you guys are one, and that is resonating in a lot of places.
And I think it's part of the reason we've become more popular. I think Fairhaven, when I got on council 19 years ago, I think everybody looked down the street and said, oh, Rumson's great. I think that people don't do that anymore. I think people are more like, this is what this is the way you should be living. This is the good way to do it, and so I think we need to keep thinking about how do we keep working on things that help.
Well, and speaking of too, we've always been saying, wouldn't it be nice to have a map of downtown and what downtown has to offer, right? And so when people come to the Fairhaven homepage, what a day in Fairhaven looks like, where to go, where to eat, what to da. But like, even having a map of our businesses and thinking about how the business association would really appreciate that.
I think we have it on our website, the
Oh.
Business Association,
Oh,
yes.
but
put together.
right,
But
okay.
we should,
But it should be integrated and say
Correct.
like, hey,
exactly,
welcome to Fairhaven. Spend a day with us. Here's where you should, what can you do? And like, imagine that. I mean.
No, but
there should be more, yeah.
as we look down the road, I think that's how it all links together, is that
Yeah.
walkability. So even though it's not technically a physical infrastructure that we handle, but the idea of we're helping to always keep the idea of walkability and
Which is a very big.
livability, right? Livability. You can live your life, look, we're lucky.
But it's sustainable.
Red Bank is not as useful to the local residents as our town is. Like, I go to the Acme, and everybody's like, why do you go to the Acme? Because I don't want to.
it's right there, it's right there,
Right there, and that's the kind.
and it's gotten better.
And I go to farmers all the time, all the time, and that's not everybody has that. Not everybody is the same, and so.
So that NJEDA has it's called an asset activation grant for up to $50,000. It's a rolling grant. It closes on November 13th. And last night I proposed that we do this for the business district. From, that the western end is very vehicular oriented, lots of big curb
Right.
depressions and pylon signs, parking in front, and this underutilized asset by City Hall right in the middle, and even an analysis of Borough Hall Library, kind of not fully meeting needs, but we have some really, I think we have a good story to tell for the grant. I think we could get it. It's a matter of finding, we have to get it prepared and submitted, which is currently a little hurdle, but the idea would be to come up with a vision plan, do full community engagement for a vision plan for the business district, do conflict, all sorts of that stuff. Jonathan, were you on council in 2007?
2007, yep.
So the PPS study that was done,
You want one? It's in my face.
I have
Oh,
one.
you have one. Yes.
And, because I love
What?
PPS.
Okay,
My question is, was that study back then by PBS completed?
yeah, I believe it was.
Oh, okay.
I believe it was. The problem is now, this is always into implementation. The Project for Public Spaces is a big national and international group that looks at towns and how do you promote placemaking and all that jazz.
Well,
I knew David well. I knew David.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. So we got a grant from Johnson and Johnson
Right,
Foundation from Berkeley to do this, and we did it for the town. And now the question is always, how do you help make it happen, you know, and we can take a look at it again, because I don't think it's wrong.
It's not, it's full of great stuff. I mean, as
Right.
far, I said everybody should read it, everybody should read the ATP, and everybody should read certain pages of the reexamination report, the objective and conclusions, basically, but,
Yeah,
you know, everything that you guys are talking about has already in a way been spoken of. And plans are only as good, which is I think where you were going, as, you know, the next generation of users, because planning stuff stacks on top of each other, and once you start to hear the same thing over and over again.
well, you gotta get full
good
votes.
leaders
like
are-
the borough council, right? You gotta have the zoning board have the guts to say, yes, we can do this, you know, what I mean, I'm playing, whatever, you know, whatever board it is, you have to have them say yes.
Yep.
And the problem is, I'll be honest with you, in my tenure,
It's
I
hard.
did much less than I could have done. Because a lot of people were no, and I was too far out for them, you know, this was too crazy an idea. I mean, look, we could do dining, you know, where you take your parking spaces and make dining.
Mhm.
That's an idea, when you take some of your parking spaces in the downtown and you build out bump outs to create dining areas, you know, so that restaurants can have outdoor dining. We had a big fight over outdoor dining when I was on council.
I believe you, because
No, I mean, I sat there and I
it's
looked at
a
it.
fight for they were gonna increase the fees or something, I just said 2 years ago
Yeah.
now.
No,
For like a few extra pennies, what are you doing? So,
Right.
but, I mean, I love it, this feels totally off track, but the thing is, what I'm sensing is a lot of things are coming into the field of view, I'll just call it. There's, the same things are being, I'm in a lot of different places,
Right.
not just Catholic, I'm here in Shade Tree, and I'm plugged in Green Team, and a lot of the same stuff is becoming part of a shared understanding, so.
we haven't gone far enough as ADUs, I gave ADUs to the town in 2004.
Did you do?
Accessory dwelling units, I
Yeah.
proposed that in 2004. Didn't get traction, got thrown out of the room as if I had brought in a dead deer, you know, I mean, this was how, you know, you had six versus one, you know, I mean, but I sat there and it's like, but we need to create more affordable housing, and you can create alternative housing, you can create a mix of housing.
Yeah.
This is the way to do it, that's progressive, it's not the government imposing it, it's us self-regulating, it's introducing it. But again, the same thing, you know,
Well.
I guess maybe that's one thing, if we, next
Got their
time, we
asses
could vision
in.
it.
Hmm?
We could talk about it next time, about what we like to see in town.
Yeah, why not set aside 10 minutes on the agenda for brainstorming or
Right.
free flow?
I got into a fight on
Put
Borough
a half an
Council.
hour on.
There you go.
Yeah.
Tracy, I got into a fight in Lebanon, bait stand on the town dock, when we rebuilt it. I got into a fight over the bait stand.
Why did you have to fight?
Some people didn't want to allow crabbing off the dock.
Oh,
And I sat there and I said, are you freaking kidding me? Kids in Fairhaven, right? How long have kids been crabbing off the dock?
Way before me.
I'm like sitting there going,
no.
why do we take this away?
Right.
Can't make it up.
All right,
All right.
so any new business? Other than what we already discussed with.
Next month, we want to talk about ways we can talk about.
I think
Maybe
we have-
we can send around the PPS report
Yeah, I would send it to Christie and look at it and see,
and
and if we need to concentrate on the report, right, send it to Christie.
I'll send it to Christie and then we'll.
Okay, and then we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Public comment. Fairhaven EC welcomes comments, suggestions, and inquiries from residents of Fairhaven. You must wait to be recognized by the chair.
Next.
Is there anybody here?
We have, questions online.
Oh, three.
Mrs. O'Brien, I'm gonna bring you over. You're muted, but go ahead.
Good evening.
Good evening. Hi, Susan.
You inadvertently approved Tuesday meetings for 2024, so you may want to redo that for Wednesdays.
Oh.
Did Christie say Tuesday or Wednesday?
She said
I thought you said
Tuesday.
Second Wednesday.
Sorry about that. Thank you for the catch.
Thank you.
Second Wednesday.
Second Wednesday.
And also, when all of you talk at the same time, I can't follow anything. Even when you're making little asides,
I've been working on it.
it happens with all these meetings that are on Zoom.
Right.
That's it.
Thank you.
We'll be better.
We'll try. I'll try to police it better.
Okay, Mark Wilson, I'm bringing you over.
Hey, can you hear me?
Mark,
Hey, so this just was brought to my attention yesterday. And I don't know if this is environmental or shade tree or council, but 3 trees were removed at McCarter Park and they needed to go. They were invasive species, Norway maples. But they weren't replaced. There's no plan to replace it. And I spoke to somebody at the DPW who doesn't want to be known. That I said, so I said, are you guys planning? And they said, no, we're not planning to do anything. And I said, so I'm just curious about the policy. Like, I know for a resident, if they remove a tree, they're supposed to replace the tree, although we don't have any code enforcement with teeth to enforce it. But anyways, in theory, it's supposed to work that way because we are 100,000% clearly in tree deficit in Fairhaven. Nobody plants enough trees. We keep losing trees every year, whether that's recorded in the borough or not, and we're not replacing them even close to what we need to replace them, the rate that we need to replace them. So now we have these public lands and the DPW person confirms they haven't planted a tree in at least 5, 6, 7 years. But surely they've removed a ton of trees. It's just not that hard. You can replace these trees. You can get a bare root tree, a 3, 4 foot, 5 foot bare root tree for $25, $30. And 5 years later, it's 20 feet tall. So I don't know. It's kind of thrown at you, Tracy, but is it environmental? Is it shade tree? Is it the
It's shade
DPW?
tree.
Is it the council?
It's shade tree, because they would, well, there's several things. The Shade Tree Commission actually does track through the tree permit removal application process. They track trees that come down as well as the tree replacement. And then Christie actually logs that very carefully and reports.
No, but that's on private, that's private property.
Yeah.
On public.
I wanted to respond to some of the things you
Yeah.
said about nobody's keeping track. Because and frankly, last year, you would have been 100% right. But since that time, several tracking mechanisms have been put in place. And I just wanted you to know, and we're still at a deficit, so your point is valid, but there's some new things in place now that have been going well this year. Generally, the whole topic of trees on public land, it does belong in Shade Tree Commission. And I think if you wanted to speak at the Shade Tree Commission, I'm sure they'd be glad to hear your perspective on this because the trees are removed frequently, as you point out, because of liability or for health and safety reasons.
Sure.
But your point is, why doesn't the borough have an obligation to replant those trees? I think is where you're going, right?
That's exactly the question. Yeah.
Yeah.
You got there faster than me.
Oh, well, you made several good points along the way. So, Shade Tree Commission might have a point of view about that. I don't know that you personally want to be the person to elevate it to council. I think going to the Shade Tree Commission is a good place for that point of view to go. And they
Right.
can.
Some sort of coordination between DPW, who then either takes it down themselves or, I think a lot of the time they go to the vendor. So there's a record. It's in the bill list because they got to pay that vendor.
Yeah.
But there's nothing to replace. So, okay, Shade Tree, I'll get out of the way. Thank you.
Mark.
thanks, Mark.
Mark,
Yeah.
do you want to
Yes.
ask for a quick update?
Oh, do you have a quick update on the trail, 3rd Street Trail? I know I have a video. The
No,
one that you sent me, but
no, we're in the dead zone. We can't get onto the agenda. We can't get approved. So we were going to cut a trail west of the third. What's that?
You're on the agenda here.
Yeah, so we're trying to cut a trail west of the Third Street Trail. I got a couple guys willing to go in there and hack it around on Friday. But we can't get approval from the DPW to have them do the moderately heavy stuff, and we certainly can't get, there's no money to pay Frontier to do the really heavy stuff. We had a consultant come in last night for 2 hours with Bonnie and I and walked through it and had just unbelievable insights. He's from Bonnie's listening, she can say it. Invasive, I forgot where, Invasive Task Force in New Jersey. He helped oversee and drove the project up in Hartshorn, where 10 acres of invasives were removed and are in the middle of being replaced. All kinds of great things to say. But no, as far as Third Street Trail, no, I got nothing to tell you, nothing more to improve. We've, obviously Bonnie's done a great job on the pollinator garden. We've planted a bunch of stuff there. Kelly, I don't know, the green team, was it a $2,000 grant? I don't know how much of that money has been spent. Robin, Kelly, other people have donated to get that pollinator garden going. It's amazing. Those first plants were planted 2 weeks ago. We were in there yesterday. Butterflies and bees. I mean, it's just automatic how they fill in. That entire hill should be can be covered with milkweed and all sorts of pollinators that we can, seeds that we can plant this fall and in the spring. Tons of plants. The thing could be just a mecca of pollinators. But it would be nice if somebody in town would fund us, but there doesn't seem to be any money. But there is money for whatever's going on at the end of Grange and blah, 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 blah. It's just insanity to me, but no one wants to hear me drone on. So we'll keep plowing forward, keep sweating all you guys down for Ralph. You look like you'd be a perfect victim to sweat you down for some money. Peters, we need to get him to
Go ahead and
sweat.
try.
Brian Rice, I know, is going to write a big check. We're going to raise some money. We're going to plant a bunch of stuff in there, and there's going to be no pictures of anybody coming in and cutting a ribbon in there coming from government money, because all the residents are doing it themselves. But it's painful, but we're making progress. And we just picked through thousands of acorns that were collected at McCarter Park. And we pulled out, I don't know, Bonnie and I, hundreds of white oak acorns that the taproot has already popped. And we're presenting to the 7th graders at Knollwood. Those 7th graders are going to plant those trees, and in a year and a half, we'll have a couple hundred trees available for those 7th graders when they graduate from 8th grade. So we're just doing it the old fashioned way.
Mark, on the pollinator garden, are the deer leaving it alone? Or no?
They are not leaving it alone, and not one deer has left a thank you note. Not one thank you note. They don't. They just munch, and I think it's an illusion when people say that it's deer resistant, because if those deer are hungry enough, they don't resist.
There's no such thing.
Yeah.
So,
Resistant up to a point. Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
yeah. And Mark, when you have resources, like, I think I know the gentleman, because I know the project area from my work with the Conservation Foundation.
Michael Van Cleef. Yeah.
Imagine if the next time you have a resource like that in Fairhaven, if you could schedule it so that that resource could be here with the Environmental Commission
That'd be great.
and you, Bonnie, to be here, because like this is your home. This is a good place for you to be reporting and collaborating on what you're doing with the trail.
Yeah, no, when we met 2 weeks ago with the Monmouth County, Anna and RJ, and there was another gal there. And I said, we did the northwest corner of the natural area, and then we came over to Third Street Trail, and I said, how messed up are we? And they're like, what do you mean? It's like, how many other towns like this? And she just laughed. She's like, you're kidding, right? And I said, no, I just benchmark. She said, all these towns are like this. All these towns do this. And like Michael Van Cleef said yesterday, he's like, it only took you 5, 7, 10, 15 decades to get here. That's how long the neglect has been on. And now, you're trying to turn this thing, but it's not fast enough for me, but we are making progress. And so anyway, Anna said, what you really need to do is she cited Seegert. They had a huge turnaround. And the way it started is you brought in the experts to present to different governing body, the governing body, or to like your group. And instead of, knuckleheads like me and Bonnie begging, it's you bring in the experts who really can cite what needs to be done. And then it gets a little bit more traction, but you try a bunch of different things. There's no magic bullet for the whole thing.
Speaking, can I just mention something about your first thing that you brought up, Mark, about DPW having to, do they not have a role to planting trees? John, is there a way to get a heat map of the town? Because I know there's a deficit, especially in that
In
area.
terms of tree cover,
Well, or like a tree cover map, but I
Okay, well,
also,
I have to see what the data.
Okay.
It actually exists, there's an app.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I know that I've seen that even.
You've seen it.
Sarah Giovanni sent it to us. I just was wondering though about maps and putting it out there, because where the police department is and the community center feels, that is actually in a deficit, like heat map there's values that are worse than like very urban areas in New Jersey.
Yeah.
And if
in
you were
our-
to show that
on the
and
western
just,
end of our business district.
Yeah, the business district and the fields, right?
Yeah.
Because the fields are open, because
Yeah.
they want their own room because they're.
yeah, but there could be, New York City has fields, but they've also got tree cover too.
Yeah, their tree cover is pretty minimal relative to this.
Community center is got no trees, and that's always been an issue. But I'm just,
No, I think
yeah.
the data, I don't know what's.
But that can be also a very important tool for seeing this and seeing where DPW
I think Shade Tree
or the
Commission
borough
would be
needs
interested in that
to
because
put more trees in.
they're going to hopefully have the grant for the tree inventory, another tool. They'll have a resource manager and they'll have the expert that they can call on a consulting basis. They have the tracking system now that Christie developed for what trees are coming down. They have a resident tree buying program that they can do twice a year. Last time 56 trees were planted. And we know at least 140 were removed so far this year, but at least 56 got in the ground. And Christie sent it to the property owners who removed trees to remind them they're obligated to replant. So some of those holes are being filled, but we're talking about this here at the Environmental Commission because you guys care about it. But if you did have a map for that purpose, that'd be a great way for you to communicate with the shade tree, because they also have they are looking to build up their shade tree trust so that they can, in the new ordinance, they'd have the ability to acquire funds through, I'll explain that another time, but basically that fund can be used for the Shade Tree Commission to purchase and plant trees on public land. And knowing where those trees are needed could be, the map like that would be revelatory for their work. So I hope that was helpful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yeah, one more, Bonnie Torcivia. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie.
Hi, Bonnie Torsivia, 115 Batten. So I won't go on and on about Third Street Trail, but it was interesting meeting with this expert about invasives, and he would be happy to come and speak. I think he's going to do a report for us with his advice. So he certainly could come and talk to you all. I would just ask that you do, Brian, add us to the agenda. And
We did.
if you are putting us you know, a word for the council in your annual report is stewardship and encouraging our town to become stewards of our natural areas and our trees and our stormwater and our rivers. And I guess I just think that word can't be, you know, used enough, that we all need to be stewards. I mean, in our own yards. I mean, you know, as Jonathan Peters is saying, like, leave the leaves. He doesn't put stuff out. He takes care of his yard. He's a steward of his yard. I mean, we each need to start there. It just can't be stressed enough how we need to start at our own yards and then take care of our towns. I mean, every time I'm on the 3rd Street Trail, people walk by and thank me for, you know, cleaning it up. It just, they are so appreciative. I mean, they enjoy the walkability, the walking through there, and they appreciate what we've tried to do. And I think they would appreciate more. And what we'd like to do is expand the trails into that west area. But it is hard when you don't have any money, and you need machinery. I mean, the invasives in there are very hard to deal with. And as far as the pollinator garden, the deer are not munching it to bits. I beg to differ. We have put in deer resistant plants. They step through it and they've broken some things, but they really haven't eaten that much. And the compliments we've had on that are great. So if anybody has access to native plants they'd like to donate, I know Ryan or Jesse, do you have access to ordering through direct to Pinelands? Or, I mean, I'd love to talk to you about that. Ordering some more plants. We've ordered some plants. We have a $2,000 grant. So anyway, we would just love your support. It's a work of love, 3rd Street Trail, but we need more volunteers and appreciate your help. Thanks.
Thank you. And I agree on all of it. Does anybody else have anything?
That is it. Susan, your hand is still up. Did you have another question? Susan?
No.
Did you have another? All set?
No,
Okay.
I don't. Sorry about that.
Okay. All right, that is all.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
Second?
I just want to say how much I appreciate you guys. Sometimes I think in the last couple of years, I just have to say that the depth and breadth of your discussions has become pretty substantive. And I mean, I think it's really exciting to watch the work that you do.
Thank you.
I always enjoy coming. Yeah.
We appreciate you.
Yes.
Uh,
Thank you.
The building blocks, right? Kelly, if you have a minute.
Yes, of course.
That's how involved it is.
So what would be